afternoon and welcome back to Girded with Truth. This afternoon we will be going into your blessing requires your focus. James chapter 1 verses 4 to 8 says, "But let patience have her perfect work, that ye may be perfect and entire, wanting nothing. If any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of God, that giveth to all men liberally, and upbraideth not, and it shall be given him. But let him ask in faith, nothing wavering. For he that wavereth is like a wave of the sea, driven with the mind, and tossed. For let not that man think that he shall receive anything of the Lord. A double-minded man is unstable in all his ways." So the book of James is showing us we cannot ask the Lord for anything and be wavering, be going back and forth. And to be double-minded just means to consistently be changing your mind. And you cannot one day serve God and then the next day serve Baal and then the day after that serve God. You have to choose one. And it's the same way, you cannot be going towards something and then change your mind and then going towards another thing and change your mind. You have to choose something to be focused on. You cannot be going back and forth consistently and continuously, because it's saying here, a double-minded person is unstable in all their ways. So you will not see the fruit of your reward if you do not focus, if you do not steadfastly stay on one thing. You have to be focused on this journey of faith. You have to be focused in asking God for something and expecting it to come to pass. You cannot 1 minute believe and then next minute lack faith. No, you have to be steadfast and you have to be focused on what you have set out to do. Philippians chapter 3 verses 15 and 16 says, "Let us therefore, as many as be perfect, be thus minded. And if in anything ye be otherwise minded, God shall reveal even this unto you. Nevertheless, whereto we have already attained, let us walk by the same rule, let us mind the same thing." So here it's saying we are headed in the same direction. Let us go in the right direction. Let us consistently pursue the same thing, because if God is in all of us, then we will be focused on getting more of Him, pursuing Him, loving Him, consistently doing the things He wants us to do. So let us not focus on different things. Let us not go one direction while our brothers or our friends, our team is going in another direction. But let us all be focused on the same thing. Let us have the same mind when coming to the things of God and the things we are set out to do. We have to be focused. We have to be focused in the right direction. 2 Corinthians chapter 8 verses 11 and 12 says, "Now therefore perform the doing of it, that as there was a readiness to will, so there may be a performance also out of that which ye have. For if there be first a willing mind, it is accepted according to that a man hath, and not according to that he hath not." So here it is saying, do not worry about the things you don't have. Do not worry about the things you have yet to accomplish. Those things will happen. But first, you must have a willing mind. He's saying, do the things you have set forth to do. But it begins with a willing mind. And to have a willing mind is not just a wanting to do it and a going towards it, but it's also a readiness to accomplish it. So if you have a willing mind where you want to do something and you are in fact heading towards it, you have to be ready for what that journey entails. And God will not put you into something that you are not prepared for, but you have a responsibility to also prepare yourself for your journey and for what's next. So this aspect of a willing mind is what it begins with. So you must have a willing mind, which means not just willing and focused, but it means ready. And secondly, you must be steadfast. Ruth chapter 1 verse 18 says, when she saw that she was steadfastly minded to go with her, then she left speaking unto her. So this is Ruth and Naomi, and we know the great things Ruth went on to do because she was steadfastly minded. She was focused on getting somewhere. She was focused on being someone. She was focused on taking care of her mother-in-law, and she was focused on the things of God. She did not leave Moab because she had nobody else but Naomi. But I believe that she left Moab because she felt like she could not go back to gods that were made with human hands. She needed to continue to serve this God that Naomi had introduced to her. She wanted to continue to serve the true and living God. And in order to do that, she knew that she had to be steadfast in things concerning God. So when she decided to leave Moab, it was her steadfastness that brought her into the greatness that she received. Boaz came her way because she was steadfast and persistent in the things of God, in caring for her mother-in-law. 1 Peter chapter 4 verses 1 and 2 says, for as much then as Christ had suffered for us in the flesh, arm yourselves likewise with the same mind. For he that hath suffered in the flesh hath ceased from sin, that he no longer should live the rest of his time in the flesh to the lusts of men, but to the will of God. So Peter in this aspect is saying, when Christ crucified his flesh, we too have to crucify our flesh. And he's saying here that this is like arming yourself with the same mind. And he's saying here that this is a weapon, because he says arm yourself with the same mind. So he's saying when you crucify your flesh, when you bring your flesh under subjection, when you submit to God, it's as if you have a weapon against the enemy. And the weapon is that you are no longer feeling to sin. You are no longer subjected to sin. You are no longer abiding in the flesh, but instead you are accomplishing the will of God. And isn't that our aim? To walk in the will of God, to walk out our purpose, to love God and to do according to what He says? Then when we are focused, we are like-minded to Christ, we are steadfast, we are willing and prepared, then we are ready to inherit the blessing that God has for us. God will not give us anything that will ultimately destroy us. He will withhold a blessing until we have gone through our process and we are ready to receive this thing. So today, don't let your blessing be withheld because you fail to be willing and prepared. You fail to be ready for what God has called you forth to do or to receive the promise He is ready to give unto you. Don't allow yourself to be the reason why your blessing is held back. Instead, be focused on what God has for you. Be focused on your journey. Be focused on your process. Be focused on the things God has for you. Have a willing mind, a prepared mind, and be steadfast in all things. Do not be double-minded because you will be unstable, but instead God requires focus. for us to accomplish the thing He has set for us to do. So let us focus and move forward in all God has for us. Thank you so much for listening. Have a wonderful afternoon. Bye.